This is Dear Strategy, episode 117. Welcome to another episode of Dear Strategy, where we answer all of your questions about product and business strategy. Real questions from real people in real companies, just like yours. Welcome back, strategy creators, to episode 117. This is going to be another great one for you, and this is going to be another strategy story. And this is another strategy story in the retail world. I guess I should tell you, I don't have a tremendous amount of experience in the retail world. I do have experience in helping retail companies develop their strategies. But as far as my own personal career, I have some retail experience. I didn't work for a retailer per se, but I did work for a company that sold products into retail. So I have some, but it's not necessarily as much expertise as I have in, let's say, the business to business or industrial space, manufacturing, things of that nature. The only reason I say that is because a lot of the stories that I'm giving you are from my own experience as a customer, and I kind of translate that back into what companies are probably feeling or doing and what kind of pitfalls they may run into, because I realize that a lot of the people that are listening to the show may be in retail. And so it's important to understand how things are viewed probably from the eyes of your customers, which sometimes in the retail business, we're paid to do that, but sometimes that doesn't always happen. So that's part of what we do with these stories. And many of these stories, as I said when we started them, are from my own experience. And then, also I would say modified by other experiences of other people that I talk to and things of that nature. It's a very unscientific way of choosing these stories, but I think they're important nonetheless because they do translate into things that companies can do something with. And another thing that I'll say about using these kind of retail stories or stories from, consumer type businesses is because if you are in an industrial business or a small business that services business to business or retail or whatever, it's really important to understand these stories from your own personal experience, because they will generally translate into the same types of pitfalls that you might run into if you're dealing with other companies. Customers are customers, right? We're all people. And so these themes are not necessarily unique to one industry versus another. So with that all said, let's talk about the story that I want to talk about this week, which has to do with companies, and this is, again, mostly retailers, who have adopted this philosophy of discounting as part of their normal routine. And so there are several companies that I can think of, probably won't name, but you, I'm sure, will know exactly who they are, right? That they will issue coupons so frequently that just becomes their new normal price, right? And these coupons are pretty significant. Many of them are 15%, 20%. They're heavy coupons. So essentially what they're doing is they're pricing their products at a certain level, and then they're issuing coupons to everyone at a high level of frequency, which means that their normal price is going to normally be 15 to 20% below what they're showing in their stores. And that just becomes their normal way of doing business. So as a strategy, does this make sense? Well, clearly it makes sense because it's working for several companies, and it does draw you in. The theory, of course, is that as a consumer, I like to think I'm getting a bargain, right? So if I have a coupon in my hand that says 20% and I take it into the store and I get 20% off whatever I'm buying, I feel like I'm getting some type of a deal. Even if every single other person that walks into that store has the exact same coupon, I somehow feel like I'm getting some type of a deal. So it's a mental thing and it works, right? It does work psychologically, I should say. It's funny because some of these stores, at least one of them I know, they issue so many coupons that people carry them around in like a Ziploc bag. So you go online and you'll see people with a Ziploc bag full of these 20% coupons that are issued all the time, and they don't expire in many cases or in many places. So it's incredible. Like, it's actually put a lot more burden on the consumer, right? I know my wife goes to these places. She has a Ziploc bag full of these coupons from this exact store. And she loves it every single time she goes to the register. She's like, I have this one, I have this one, I have this one, I have this one. I'm like, that is actually a lot more work for you. Right? Like, it's not a good thing, because if they just offered their prices at 20% discounts to everybody without a coupon, that would be a lot easier on you as a consumer. But somehow she likes the thrill, right? She thinks she's getting a deal. And I understand it. I'm not just putting it on her, because I kind of feel the same way, but she makes a habit of it, right? She just absolutely loves it. So in any case, it works. It's a psychological trick that works. But there are some downfalls to it. And this is what I wanted to kind of bring up here, in case you're thinking, maybe you're a small business or a small retail or any type of a company, and you're thinking, hey, this might be a practice that works. Maybe I should do that, right? There are some pitfalls. Pitfall number one is, of course, if everyone online, and I mean a physical line, has a coupon and you are the poor fool who doesn't or wasn't let in on the game, you're going to feel pretty slighted, right? Pretty darn slighted. Now, some of these companies that do this habitually, I see that they have a standard coupon that they can scan for someone who doesn't have it. So if you go to the register and you say, hey, where's everyone getting these coupons from? You can say, oh, well, don't worry about it. We have one here for you. And then you don't lose out on it. But I've seen some stores or certain companies that actually, they stick to their guns on this, right? Like, you could have everyone online on a physical line, again, having a coupon. The one person that doesn't have it say, hey, what about me? And they say, oh, too bad. It's in the Sunday paper, or we mail them, or go on a mailing list, or whatever else. I'm like, that seems so rude in a way, right? And I think it could serve to turn off customers. And I've actually seen customers get angry with this, right? So I think it's just something to be careful of. My recommendation is, if you're kind of doing this as your psychological, thing, make sure you offer it to everybody, right? And that's obviously not a rule. It's not a law. People do have to have the physical coupon, but I think it's just a cool thing to do, right? If everyone essentially has access to this thing, but some poor fool comes into the store and doesn't, probably should offer them one, right? So that's one thing to think about. The other thing, though, that I think is even more interesting, because there's a handful of companies that kind of offer these coupons every single week, every single day. That becomes their newest price, right? But there are some companies that do it on a far less frequent basis, but still frequent enough that, if you don't have a coupon, you're probably not going to buy from them. So I know that I do some online purchasing in the music business, and I'm sure there are many other companies that do this as well. But I like, music technology and keyboards and synthesizers and recording gear. Like, you're listening to, one of my probably 50 mics that I've purchased over the years to do this kind of thing. Interestingly, right? One mouth, 50 mics. I don't know how that works. But in any case, I buy a lot of music equipment. I just happen to like to do that. And there's a couple of retailers that will offer coupons, but maybe they do that, and they're pretty significant coupons. Maybe they do that, 5 or 6 times a year rather than every single day. So there's a good part of the year that I wouldn't have a coupon, but what I end up doing is I wait, right? Because I know I could almost always get some discount, whether it's 10%, 15%, whatever else. If I am not in possession of a coupon because there's not one valid for that time period, I'm not buying from them in that time period. I'm going to wait until there is a coupon. Now, if I have an immediate need, then obviously I'm going to do that. But very rarely do I have an immediate need for a microphone when I have 50 of them, right? So at the end of the day, what you're doing when you have a cadence like that is you're seasonalizing your sales, at least with certain consumers. And maybe that's the point. Maybe that's what some companies want, right? Is they want to offer coupons when their sales are traditionally going to be slow. But I think what you're also doing is you're actually causing some part of your customer base to not buy from you at all unless there's a coupon, which I don't know is exactly what you're trying to do. So again, just a consideration. I can't say that I can get into the heads of the retailers that are doing this. I haven't spoken to them. I don't know if that's, is that what they're trying to accomplish or not, or if that's even what happens. But I imagine that it is to some extent. So I think it's something that you need to consider, right? If you're thinking about doing this strategically for your business and you're going to offer, let's say, 4 coupons at various times of the year, make sure that you realize what that could do to your loyal customer base and what that could do to your sales. And then, of course, the last thing that I'll talk about is in an episode earlier in the year. I'll go ahead and link to it in the blog post. But in an episode earlier in the year, we talked about companies that offer coupons habitually, but then exclude a whole number of different brands from that. There's reason for that. That's usually the suppliers or the brands themselves that are causing the companies to exclude them. But it is a turnoff when you go to the store with a coupon and there's a whole bunch of things that are excluded. You're not necessarily reading the fine print. So that can hurt you as well. And I have seen that some of these companies that offer coupons for a lot of stuff, many times those coupons only apply to a very limited number of items in the store. And when you go to the store and you're faced with that, that can be off-putting. So definitely something to consider as well. Overall, though, if you can manage through all these things, there is definitely some psychology around here's the price and you're going to get a special deal on that. It does draw people in. It does make people feel good. It does make people want to buy. So that's not a bad thing. Just make sure that you're considering these potential downsides that go along with it as well. So there you go. That's the story. That's the advice. That's the thought process, things to think about. And again, if you have a story that you want to be submitted to the show, please don't hesitate to go hit us up at dearstrategy.net and go ahead and click on the Ask a Question link up in the upper right-hand corner of the website. That'll take you to a form where you could share a story, ask a question, or just be a part of the show. Just give us some feedback. While you're at that site, make sure you click on the blog link as well, because with every one of these podcast episodes, there is a blog that goes much deeper into some of these concepts. And it's a free resource, right? I mean, we have 117, we said, right? Of these things out there right now. That's more than a book, and it's great advice and great stuff, all for free. So please go ahead and check that out and share it, and help us grow that audience to have access to this resource, which I think is really, really special. So while you're doing all that, don't forget to make time for the plan, and we'll see you back here on another episode of Dear Strategy. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for listening to Dear Strategy with Bob Caporelli. To learn more or to submit a question to be featured on our show, please visit us at dearstrategy.net.